I am IFBB Pro George Brown, and this is Maximum Muscle Report. And we have a brand new show, and it's called Bodybuilding by Bodybuilders. I am your host, and these are my analysts, Nate Spears, Andre Ferguson, and Mandus Buckle. How you guys doing?
Doing straight, George.
So this show is going to be about bodybuilding, obviously. Nasty Nate, for people who don't know yourself, give you a little introduction.
What's up, guys? Nate Spear. So I'm a national level competitor, really big bodybuilding enthusiast. I run the Bodybuilding by Bodybuilders group over on Facebook, which is linked with Maximum Muscle Report. Do some coverage for them. Just really been a fan and follow it very in depth for a while now.
All right, Andre Ferguson is up next.
IFBB Pro, Andre Ferguson. I'm just all around bodybuilding fiend.
And Mandus Buckle. Mandus, what up?
What's up, George? Man, I could not be more excited about this show. This is really another idea. We do King's Court. That's been a pretty good hit. We've got some great feedback. And we knew we needed to do something for the bodybuilding and classic physique community. Nate said to me, let's put together a show. George, you know the sport as well as anybody. You travel as much as anybody. Andre, you said you're a huge bodybuilding fiend.
Yeah.
So here's the panel. We're going to have one or two other guys that are going to rotate on here as well. But basically, we're going to cover the sport in general, focusing mostly on the bodybuilding division, the classic physique division. So I'm excited. Let's roll.
All right, cool. So the first question, and I'll let you guys take it from here, is are the current rising generation of bodybuilders taking us back to the 90s? Nate.
Well, I think what I'm seeing right now is you see a lot of guys really trying to keep the waist tight. You see a perfect example is Juan Morel. He's doing the vacuums. Josh Wade, another guy. A lot of the bigger guys now trying to keep the stomach tight. As you saw Phil last year, a lot of people believe he lost because of his transitions, sort of getting a little sloppy, you know what I mean? And a lot of classic physique guys are on the rise, very popular at the moment. And I feel like a lot of judges are sort of liking that sort of streamlined look, excuse me. But I also think for the 90s too, it's still all about conditioning at the moment. You know what I mean? These guys are coming in razor sharp. A lot of people compare the 90s to now, but I think the conditioning is like next level, and it's accelerated greatly since the 90s. You know what I mean?
Andre.
Yo, I think I agree, man. I say yes, because the number one thing I think about is the bodybuilders are actually being conscious of their waists now. Even in the open, 212 guys are streamlined. And to me, classic physique is the future of bodybuilding, because it's the happy median of every division. So you still have the hardness, you still have the conditioning, you have more size, more density, and you're showing the whole physique. So to me, classic physique is the future of bodybuilding.
Good point, Mandus.
All right. Well, first, I think bodybuilding is the top of the food chain, and it always will be. So although classic physique is a big part of the future of bodybuilding, I think the open bodybuilding is always going to be the be all end all. However, I do think a lot of these guys now are no longer compromising aesthetics for just size. They are a lot more aware and conscious, like both of these gentlemen have said, keeping the waist more streamlined. But I don't think it's only that. There's a lot more emphasis on balance, symmetry, aesthetics. We see people like Sergio Oliva Jr. and Terrence Ruffin, and I know I'm talking about two different divisions, but that are focusing on posing and presentation. And these are things we saw a long time ago that we missed for a long time because it was just about bringing this massive structure. Well, that's kind of going away, but there's still a lot of big guys. So it's going to be very interesting when we see the Ians and Rafael Brandao and Sergio Oliva Jr. and Regan Grimes as they continue to develop and add more dense muscle overall, but keeping aesthetics at the top of a priority list, how they're going to match up eventually next to Josh Lenowitz and Big Ramis and guys who are still mass monsters. So it's yet to be seen, but I believe that that's where we're headed. I believe we're absolutely headed there. Now we need them all to nail that conditioning all the time like we used to see back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree, kind of to go with Andre. So, Andre, what you're saying is you're seeing a hybrid. It's kind of what Mandus is saying, but it's like a combination of size, but with the
The
condition, like
guy,
sort of like the big man shooting threes in the NBA now.
the guys like Regan Grimes, when they get that dense muscle on them and they keep the aesthetics, they're gonna make the guys like Josh look out of shape. No matter what conditioning Josh comes with, when Regan and them come with that dense muscle and come in shape, they're gonna make guys like that look out of shape and out of place.
I think a
Because
perfect example
if
is
I have if I
Curry.
have just as much muscle as you, but I have aesthetics and a smaller waist and more
Right.
balance and proportions, I look better than you.
I think
Nate,
Brandon Curry is a perfect example. He's only like what two? I think he was like 245. I can see him
Yeah.
winning Olympia, honestly. And you know what I mean? Everyone says size, but he looks much larger because of his proportions, right?
But again, it all comes down to, like I said, they're putting the emphasis on the structure as opposed to just mass,
Yep.
as opposed to mass. But I'm gonna always stick by my statement of classic physique is on the rise and is helping make things more popular. But open bodybuilding is always going to be king of the hill. End of story.
all right, cool. So, classic physique is now on a point system. What does this do to the division?
I mean,
Nate,
I think this is actually a great move
Oh,
because
somebody else.
now there's a lot of classic competitors in the IFBB, and what it makes is a really interesting shows. So, like for example, you just had the Pittsburgh Pro, and you had Alex who just won. Well, now he's doing New York. You know what I mean? So New York is getting stronger now because a lot more of these heavy hitters are doing more than just one show, one and done,
mm-hmm.
qualify, get to the Olympia. So now you're going to see some pretty stacked, like tier two shows. You know what I mean? Going into Olympia.
Good point, Andre.
Um, the fact that it's basically the same exact format as last year for men's physique, you're gonna see that the really good guys that were waiting because they thought they could sit and win one show are gonna have to jump back in the pool earlier. And then also now the Tampa Pro is gonna be the most stacked show because the Tampa Pro first place is 16 points. So you can come off the couch with 0 points and you can win the Tampa Pro and qualify for the Olympia. So watch out for that Tampa Pro.
Mandis.
I think it's fantastic. You know, we've heard a lot of discussion and debate about the point system for bikini and men's physique. I think it's the best thing that could ever happen. It makes it such a competitive league, and it makes guys have to compete. It makes there have to be a strategy on what part of the year you're going to compete. It makes you have to be in shape for certain periods of time. Just like every other sport, you go through a season, and going through that season makes you a better athlete. Now that it's the same thing in classic physique, just like Andre said, this first year, there are going to be some shows that are going to be stacked to the gills. But don't forget, it's not only going to be Tampa. So Toronto is now our tier 2 show this year. That's June 1st. Chicago's at tier 3. Vancouver's at tier 3. So there's 12 points to be had at those shows for a win. There's 16 points to be had in New York still, which is next weekend, and then Toronto as well in a month from now. So I think not only are you going to see Tampa stacked, you're going to see a lot of guys, some who don't know until they watch this. Some guys don't know until they watch this that that's the system. So I think you're going to see people push the fast forward button on shows, and Vancouver and Chicago are also going to be stacked. There's also a couple of other smaller shows like Virginia that are tier 4 that are right in the middle. That now that lineup is going to go from maybe 10, 12 guys to 18, 20, 25 classic physique pros now. Can't wait. Can't wait.
Nate, does this point system do anything negative? Bring anything,
I mean, besides some of the guys that probably could walk in and maybe win a show and be done, you know what I mean? It might be a little bit for them that something they're not used to, you know what I mean? Because they're used to, you know what I mean, just winning a show and being done. Now it just makes them a little bit more preparation for going to Olympia, you know what I mean? A longer stretch. So that could really, like the longer stretch might be harder because they're not used to it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I talk about a show being stacked, Mandus, I'm not talking about numbers. I'm talking about who can actually win the show.
Apps quality.
And what I mean is this now. When I said Tampa, it's the last show of the year.
Right.
It's all those other shows, Tampa and New York, they're still going to have their decent amount of people in it. But that last show of the year, everyone that trickled down that's not qualified or in the 16 through 20 spot are all showing up to that show.
I agree. All I'm saying is you're going to now see Chicago, Vancouver.
Oh, yeah, that's a given.
You're going to see the amount of guys increase in numbers going to those shows as well. And not only numbers, there's going to be a couple of guys who are very good athletes that now realize, oh, it's not win and I'm in. I can't just do Virginia. I can't just do the Linda Murray.
Yes.
I've got to do something else. So you're going to see the numbers and the quality increase at those shows as well.
Say instead of 3-4 guys being legitimately able to win the show, you're going to have 7, maybe 8 guys legitimately able to win a show now.
And isn't that better for the sport?
Of course.
Isn't that better for us as fans of the sport?
Of course. As long as they don't burn out. As long as they don't burn out by the time they get to the Olympia.
They'll learn. Yeah. They'll learn. It might take 2 years or so.
You know what? It still is an athlete to learn.
Look at what you guys all figured it out.
I agree.
You guys figured it out.
Yeah, definitely. We off to a good start, but we got to pay some bills. And when we come back, Nasty Nate got something special for us. He got a special guest, Bodybuilding by Bodybuilders, Maximum Muscle Report. We'll be right back. And we are back with Bodybuilding by Bodybuilders. And we have our special guest, Sergio Oliva. Serge, how you doing?
What up? What up? From the West Coast.
The West Coast. Where you at, man?
In San Diego.
San Diego, man. How's the weather?
Yeah, I'm not missing Chicago, that's for sure.
Yeah, you are.
All right, so we got Mandus in the house. If you know, I know you know Mandus. We got Nate Spears and we got Ferguson. But right now, we about to jump right into some questions. So, real quick, what was the experience of your first Mr. Olympia as a competitor like?
Man, it was. I think because I just know in bodybuilding, you're never in today's day, you're never just gonna enter the bodybuilding show or enter the Mr. Olympia and you're gonna be like first call anymore. So I think that weight was already just out on my shoulders. So I was able to just kind of like enjoy it and just kind of take it in. And I'm just like a super fan of the sport anyway. So it really was cool to be like backstage and see like who's clicking with who, you know, what groups are what, and not just in the open class, but just the whole Olympians in general, you know, which other classes are meshing with other, you know, classes. So it was cool to kind of see behind the scenes. I kind of just chilled and stayed to myself. But really, I just felt like I had like badass backstage passes. But being on the actual stage when I came out, man, if you go to my prejudging when I came out, I almost fell. First of all, coming out, looking at the lights, I tried to go into my front relax, and I had to do like a windmill because I almost fucking busted my shit. So, I mean, it was good. It was just now I got that out of my system. I got, you know, the little like, all right, you know, you had a taste, and like Bob Ciccarello always likes to say, is like you're never gonna do worse than your first time. So it was cool to be up there and just kind of enjoy it. But now going forward, now having a taste of it, it put things in perspective of what I really want. And I feel like the IFBB did me bogus. They had me first time I've ever came out on an Olympia stage. They put me between Big Ramy and Phil. So they for sure were trying to send a message right away. So I got the message. That's why I haven't stopped eating since the Olympia. I gotta put on at least like 75 to 80 pounds. Shit.
Yeah.
But it was cool.
Yeah, man. It's definitely an experience. You know, what I mean, like you said, and you know, with them putting you right there, that also gave you perspective. You know, I know your mindset. I know you coming for the win every single time, but you know, you can go against a guy who's proven, who's been in the league. It lets you know, look, man, I really got to get to work because these dudes, you know, put their work in. You know, what you're like now completely in order. You know, having the best training partner, Steady Eddie. Do you see the coveted Mr. Olympia title is like just a dream, or is that, you know, really a reality?
No, yeah, I would have never got into this if it wasn't a reality. I think getting on stage puts things in perspective as in like how far behind I am, but I don't think it's ever changed anything of what I want to do in this sport or anything like that. I realized a lot of things this last year about myself that I needed to change. And that's why I moved. I changed workout partners and stuff like that. But that didn't really have anything to do with being on the Olympia stage. That just had to me with me maturing and finally waking the fuck up and realizing that you can't do what you did to get your pro card to win a Sandow or an Arnold Classic, which is actually more what I'm thinking about first. There's stages to it. So yeah, man, I'm having the best sessions I've ever had. I'm training the best. I'm the happiest. I'm eating. My issue is whenever I have any kind of like issues in life or whatever, I don't eat. I wish I was one of those emotional eaters, like some bodybuilders are. I'd be Mr. Olympia already. I promise you. If I was one of those guys that ate when their life was fucked up. So me kind of getting away from all that and now being able to just crush food and crush weights and then really do that over and over again. I'm getting the best gains I have since. But yeah, now that I've been on that Olympia stage, I see how serious it is. Because me, when I do shows, like I've either won or almost won second place every show that I've ever entered. But I'm always the biggest dude on stage, weight wise, usually because of my height. So it was the first time I actually stepped on stage and there was somebody bigger than me or weighed more than me. So it kind of helped me change my gears into thinking about things a little bit different. When I do shows, I just want to come in straight dick skin and just shredded. But I do realize now, if that's my goal, not to win a Tampa Pro, but to win a Sandow, I also need to put on a lot more weight too. So when you're lining up and you're about to walk up the stairs and you got Big Ramy in front of you and Phil behind you, it reminds you of what's really important for me, for my career.
You know, Sergio, I had a chance to be out there, visited you for a week or so a couple months ago. And man, I've known you a long time. I have never seen you so together. Your life is scheduled. You woke up within 30 minutes of the same time every day. Your meals were about the same time every day. Steady Eddie Bragmonte, probably the best influence I could have imagined because you're a fun guy. You're a big personality guy. You're a lot going on guy. Eddie is a calm, cool, collect, just kind of goes through, does what he's supposed to do all the time, every day. How much of an impact and influence do you think his stability has been on your overall stability as well?
Yeah, but I used to always say it all the time. Actually, most pros don't train with other pros anymore. But usually because, man, egos or jealousy, or even just sometimes people that have badass genetics don't really train that serious. So usually the best workout partners were usually amateurs, dudes that are trying to get their pro card, or just dudes that do it because they love it. And then also too that they can step back and put your career first, which is a big issue when you're training with workout partners. So for me to be able to find Eddie, who he's almost hungrier than I am, you know, because he's never gets the justification he deserves. He never gets any looks, and somehow he still doesn't say shit. He doesn't complain, and he just puts his head down and he just keeps training. So it kind of helps me to kind of stay focused on just doing the work. But being able to have someone that now I can step back and I'm trying to help him get ready for his shows. He just did Brazil, he did Spain, now he's getting ready for the Cal. Man, it's putting me on a whole nother level to be able to like train with someone who's getting ready for a show. I've never done that before. But man, I know it's sad as like you said. I'm doing well. It only took fucking 15 years, but that's also what excites me too. Because man, if I've won the third hardest show in the world and I made it to the Olympia and my life has literally been disheveled, then that really means I kind of been making it this far off of genetics. You know, when that used to be the thing that used to make me so mad when people would say I only got to where I am because of my genetics. I think I actually just realized they're probably right, because as fucked up as my life has been, I should have never even been top 10 at a pro show, let alone a won one. So now I'm excited because I'm like, man, what could I do now where I have no excuses? And that's all I keep telling myself. I have no excuse not to kill it now. So it's just a whole mindset in general. Eddie is a big part of it for sure, but I don't party. I don't go out. I don't do any of that. So that's never really an issue for me. My issue is people are distractions to me, women. So whenever I can take myself out of that, I can focus on what's important.
Yeah, man. Being in a healthy mind state, I'm experiencing that right now. You know what I mean? I'm calm, like you said. I'm in my a bubble for the most part. You know, I can kind of control the environment. I don't put myself, you know, in bad situations. So everything's healthy, everything's running. With that being said, what do you attest the latest rash of injuries in the league to?
Man, I know it's been really crazy. Even if half of them aren't really as true as some of these reporters are stating, it's still just proof too that I think people are going too fast. I think now there's the pressure on, especially like my generation, to not only do we have to like somehow catch up to the veterans that are on their way out, but we also have to stay up in front of the dudes that are coming up that are just wearing their pro cards. So I feel like trying to not really take shortcuts, but actually just trying to maybe do things a little bit faster. Ligaments aren't really staying up to date with the muscle growth that's coming with it. I also believe too that I am the only flexible open bodybuilder in the IFBB. Nobody stretches. I don't expect everybody doing the splits on stage like me, but I don't remember the last time somebody posted a video of them stretching. We only want to see the workouts or all the other shit, but is it because they don't want to post it, or are they just not doing it? Because I know how it feels when now I'm over 300 now. Stretching is a lot harder to do in this weight, so I have to make sure that I make a point to do it, where I think a bunch of these guys aren't doing it.
What are your stats right now?
Well, I try not to weigh myself. I just go off the mirror. But I was over 300, and that's when I stopped looking. So I don't know. But I know that I need to try and get up to like 320, realistically. Because if I was 273, 274, then what would I have to be to win the Olympia, or to walk into a Tampa and it's not even a decision? I would say almost 290 on stage.
Yeah. Nate, what do you think, man? What do you think it is?
I mean, like Sergio just said, it's a lot of guys, I think, trying to prove themselves. Even though Fuad's been around for a while, it's like he's trying to come back and almost prove something. And then Antoine has got a lot of hype going into it. It's sort of like a lot of eyes are on him. A lot of guys, I think, might be feeling pressure. So it's almost like the intensity gets turned up a little bit too much. You know, when you're getting really close to a show, obviously, most of us know, you got to be really careful. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that you can take into account where you're more injury prone. You know what I mean?
Fuad's a perfect example of someone just having bad luck.
That too.
Fucking up one injury, and then still somehow doesn't let that mess him up. Comes back and then gets hurt again.
Yeah.
I promise you, it's not because he's doing anything stupid or he's rushing. But age does matter. That's for sure. And that's something that I have to keep reminding myself too.
Definitely.
All right, that's good info, man. Got to take another short break, and then we come back. We're going to touch on some other topics together. This is Bodybuilding by Bodybuilders. We'll see you in a second. Right back at you. It's Bodybuilding by Bodybuilders. And here are our next topics up. Serge, how is Shawn Rhoden viewed as Mr. Olympia? As the new Mr. Olympia?
I think Shawn's a perfect example of the different age in bodybuilding in general, not just the open class. That back in the day, you used to be able to do whatever the hell you want. Dorian could have probably been, who knows? We don't even know what he was doing. But now, because of social media, these guys don't ever get a break. They don't ever get to just, exactly like Shawn said, just take a break from bodybuilding and not be a bodybuilder, which is exactly what I did. I did the same thing after the Olympia, and I just wanted to take a break from the gym, let my joints heal. Man, even just not even stepping in a gym, so that way I can almost be excited to get back into it again, where we don't even know if past Mr. Olympias did that. We don't know what Jay did or even what Ronnie did. So now with social media, it's just constantly being followed. So I think now Shawn is actually starting to learn some of the difficulties that Phil's been through. And I say it all the time, Phil's the ambassador of being the first Mr. Olympia with social media. And he might not have handled it the right way when he used to be snapping on people on social media and he got a bad rep. But I said at the press conference, I promise you, if my dad had social media, he would have been killing people. Literally. So we're just only getting mad at things that we just have not experienced before. We've seen dudes be out of shape at guest posing. We used to praise Lee Priest for gaining 400 pounds and then somehow being like 200 pounds on stage, and we like suck his dick because he made this transformation. And now Shawn does it, and it's like, oh my God, the travesty that, God forbid he's not in shape. Me personally, I would have done maybe some ninjas in a cast or something where I couldn't guest pose. I probably would have turned down Mannion's guest posing, knowing that I was in that shape. But I actually was in the same boat. And right after I won my pro card, I went through some shit too, and I had to do that guest posing. And man, I hadn't been in the gym for like 4 months. And Shawn's like, man, you have to go to that. You can't skip that. It's an honor to be there. So I know he was just telling himself the same thing that he told me 2 years ago. And bro, I got destroyed. Shawn Ray did a whole video on me and how maybe this isn't for me and all this. So there's always going to be people like that. The only thing that's good is Shawn has experienced every single type of person in this sport. The haters, the dick suckers, the yes men. So none of this is phasing him. He's already had people not even having him in the top 10, and then he won the Olympia. Like, people have been talking shit about Shawn forever. And Shawn's given me the best advice I've ever had in my life. And he even told me that this is exactly how he said it. He said, you're going to get fucked in your ass. And you have to take it, smile, and then somehow probably later on in your career, take it again. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of competitors today don't understand, is that you're going to get screwed. So bitching about politics or anything like that. So I don't think it's phasing him, but him as an Olympian as a whole, I think it's like when Dexter beat Jay. It's giving so much hope to like people that maybe don't want to be 300 pounds on stage. And now, as long as you just put your tenure in, because Shawn's been around for a long time. People don't even know this dude came, left, completely went off the deep end, was like a raging alcoholic. His dad died. He went through a huge depression, and then he came back. And then that's when people were like, oh, who's this guy Shawn Ray, when he'd already been around for a while. So this is really good for people to know that, man, if you just stick it out and you just, like he said, just get fucked in your ass over and over again, eventually you will get your time for that trophy if you want it. But will he win it again, or how many times, or all that? I don't think it's gonna. I don't think we're ever gonna have another 7-time, 8-time Mr. Olympia ever again. I'll tell you this: with all the issues with classic and open, Shawn winning kind of disputes a lot of them. All these little bitches that are like, oh, it's unhealthy and I don't want to look like this or I don't want to look like that. Actually, man, Shawn's kind of got a classic physique. So what's the argument now? You're telling me, and the same thing with AKA Mr. Getting It Done, Kai. Kai said he left because they're never going to give it to anyone but Phil. Well, now they didn't. So now what's his excuse?
Very true.
So Shawn is just single-handedly eliminated so many excuses in bodybuilding. So many people that use certain excuses to not compete or not go into the open class or whatever it is. And now they're left with their dicks in their hand like, they don't know what to say. So I think that's the best thing about Shawn is now he's the oldest. So anyone who is like, even people tell me I'm gonna be 34, they're gonna tell me I'm old. That dude just won 10 years older than me. You're telling me if I just stick it out for 10 years? So it just disputes so many people, so many haters right away. All their bullshit goes out the window. But even people that are competing and are maybe unsure about themselves, they can kind of look at Shawn as like the savior, that there's hope for a streamlined physique.
Very true.
Serge with the thorough, colorful answer.
I like that one, Serge. I like that one.
Andre, what you got for him?
We gotta run back the question, man. Serge ran with me.
Surgeon.
We could have went to the next question.
Repeat the question for him, George.
I'm sorry. How is Shawn Rhoden viewed as the new Mr. Olympia?
Oh, yo, he kind of touched on all bases, but the main base he touched on is Phil being the first Mr. Olympia with social media. So Shawn is kind of like the polished one now. So Shawn basically learned what not to do. So besides him coming out of shape, listen, and George knows, in the beginning, I used to never lift after the Olympia. I only started training after the Olympia the last 2 seasons because I had to get bigger and better. But in the beginning, I didn't, I would literally not train in my off seasons and I would do 16-week preps. I would not touch weights at all. I would go to the gym maybe once, maybe twice a week. I was just chilling, hanging out because in my normal state, my body's pretty damn decent still. So yeah, I'm going to eat whatever and put on a little body fat, but dude, Shawn Rhoden been grinding forever, bro. He put everything he had into that Olympia, man. He deserves everything he's doing right now. He's just enjoying his life.
Nasty Nate.
I mean, I think as far as he's viewed, like overall, I think the fact is like a lot of people saw him sort of criticize Phil as how he was the Mr. Olympia and sort of how he like held himself together. And now sort of Shawn won the Olympia and sort of went underground a little bit. And then now he pops up. Like he hasn't really been seen too much, like doing a lot of publicity stuff. And then all of a sudden he sort of steps on stage looking sort of small and out of shape. So I think a lot of people were taken aback by that. Because like most people would be like, oh man, this guy just won the Mr. Olympia. You think it'd be motivation to like sort of get better or like come in with a crazy off season? I mean, honestly, it's smart for Shawn because he knows his body at this point. And being that old, I mean, health-wise, I mean, a lot of people say, you know what I mean? Like bodybuilding isn't healthy, but this guy has it figured out, you know what I mean? His body, he's listening, you know what I mean? And now he's going to probably come in and do the same thing he's been doing, you know what I mean?
I think this change at the top was probably the best thing we've seen in bodybuilding for quite a long time, because for a long time now we've had a Mr. Olympia who was maybe not the greatest representative. The last few years, there was an attitude and ego that was built.
But they're not judging. But they're not judging personalities, though.
And Shawn Rhoden right now Nate, it's the opposite. He's been all over the place. He just hasn't been all over in the United States. If you look, Shawn Rhoden has now been on this massive world tour, being a fantastic ambassador of the sport. He shakes hands, he has conversations, he takes pictures, which is helping grow our sport that much more worldwide. He's a veteran. He's been around for a long time. He understands what he needs to do, what he can get away with, and what he can't. Physique-wise, don't really care what he looked like in Pittsburgh because if you look the last few years, we've seen some other off-season pictures that were not the best, but somehow, some way he puts it together. Talked to him this past weekend in Pittsburgh. He said he's about done traveling now. And if I do remember, we're about 19 weeks out. So he's about to start his prep and roll into the Olympia. Whether he repeats or not, it is going to be yet to be seen. But that change and the fact that, as Sergio touched on, it lets a lot of other people think and feel, hey, this really can happen for me. And again, the ability to connect with the fans, because at the end of the day, guys, without the support of the fans and the people who love our sport, guys don't have jobs. We don't have jobs. There's nowhere for us to go and display our work ethic. So kudos to Shawn for adding to the fan base and dispelling the fact that all bodybuilders are assholes and self-absorbed dicks.
Yeah, but
because that's just not the fact. Not everybody rides on a high horse. So kudos to Shawn, and let's see what happens now this year.
Andre.
But Mandus, you have the whole wrong idea of Phil Heath. Who Phil Heath is on social media is not who Phil Heath is in person. Phil Heath is a great ambassador to the sport. Phil is great to the people. Phil is not the same person when people are just trying to bash him on the internet. That's not the Phil you get in person. Phil is a great ambassador for this sport. And guess what also, Mandus? They're not judging personalities on the stage. So they don't care who you are on social media to some punk kid sitting behind his computer trying to bash you.
Of course they're not. I'm talking about the fact that Shawn Rhoden has been on a world tour pumping the sport of bodybuilding.
But Phil does the same thing.
That's part of the gig now.
But Phil does the same thing.
What we were all talking about earlier, that part of the job description of the sport now, not to everybody because it's not set in stone, but for those who understand the business end of it, hey, it's going to be more beneficial not only to them and their brand, but the other athletes as well. Hey, let me get out there. Let me talk to the people so they get to know us as individuals, not just what they see on social media.
Hey,
Serge, are you making it?
Seen a lot of Phil traveling in the last few years.
Hold on.
Are you saying this in a manner that Phil doesn't do those things?
I'm saying we haven't seen the amount of travel and endorsing the last few years out of Phil.
Okay, all right, I agree on that.
And Jay Cutler.
I agree. I agree with that.
That's all.
So what you're saying is, like Shawn is a little bit more approachable or accessible.
Absolutely.
But Phil is just as approachable. Phil just doesn't do all the traveling. I agree.
Yeah, I think so too. Right. Exactly.
That's all I'm saying. Shawn is doing the traveling.
Because, like I tell people, Phil is not the person you see on the internet when people are trying to come at his neck 24/7 when you meet Phil in person. He is a great person in person, Phil. He loves the people. The fans love him. Phil Heath has tons and tons and tons and tons of fans.
Of
No,
course.
I can relate. I can relate on that. I can relate on that big time too, because I hate social media. And sometimes just because somebody hit follow on my Instagram, they don't automatically aren't going to get the same respect from me that they are maybe someone that who drove somewhere that's going to meet me or maybe even privately message me. It's different. And we're not taking into account when Shawn won, everyone praised him. Every single person. When Phil won, man, they bashed him bad for his stomach. And no matter what, he's human. And him and his wife or his girl, they just kind of wanted to disappear from all that. They had to turn the comments off on social media. And me, I would have done the same thing. I don't want to travel. Now everybody's making all these jokes about me. And it kind of took away the fire out of him winning his 7th one. You know, he tied Arnold and all he heard about was how shitty he was. I probably would have took a break too and probably just wanted to go on vacation, which is what he did, where Shawn did the opposite. Everyone was praising him. So there's a big difference. But social media, the same thing Andre said about Phil's is probably the same thing you could say about me. The same person on social media is not the same person in person that you'll meet with me because
some people say I'm a bad guy on social media. And George will be the first to tell you the people love me in person.
Yeah.
I take every single picture, I shake every single hand, and I have something to talk to every single person that comes over to me.
It's just to each his own. It's all different deliveries. Everybody is a great ambassador in their own way, you know, and that's what makes everybody unique.
True to that.
Yeah.
True to that. Mandus, what you're saying is the traveling, and you're right.
I agree with Mandus wholeheartedly.
That is part of it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because he did his tour. He did a whole UK tour right away. Then he's been in every country since, and he's got his show in the Philippines too. So he's putting on a lot for sure. And one other thing that I left out that Shawn has now put a number 2 with all the records he's broken. He's also the only person to win the Olympia with a kid, and people don't realize that because Lee Haney don't count. Lee Haney don't count for nothing. He's the baby. You can literally say, well, Lee Haney did that for everything, but Ronnie and Dexter had kids, but they were old. They were adults.
Grown kids.
Yeah, and they were living in other households. Shawn's the only person to win an Olympia with a baby in the house. That's and you know what? I didn't realize it until Jason Hudd told me that. I saw Jason and I was like, yo, why don't you compete no more? And he said, man, because I had a kid. And I'm like, that shouldn't be a reason why. And he said, man, have you ever thought about it? Who's one with a kid? And I was like, damn. And he said this. You're either going to be a really good dad and a shitty bodybuilder, or you're going to be a really good bodybuilder and a shitty dad. It's really hard to balance both out. And I don't have kids, so I don't know. I can't relate, but I can imagine Slee having to put something else first when we all put ourselves first when we get ready for a show. None of us are prepping for a show and are like, oh, let me take care of this. No, we put ourselves first. And not only that, people in our life put us first. So if you had to be like, no, I got to skip the gym today because I got to take my kid to the doctor, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, man. Kids, you know, babies, the wellness division.
Let's talk about that.
Is it a good thing?
What a transition.
Yo, that was the transition of the year right there.
Fire.
Coming in 2020, is it a good thing?
Yes.
Nasty Nate, take us off.
Oh man, I don't know. I gotta disagree. I just.
Oh, Nate, man, come on.
Well, it's a good thing. Yeah. I get you.
Give your opinion, Nate.
I mean, honestly, I just think it becomes too hard to judge, in my opinion, from bikini, figure, and then now wellness. Or what happens is, are they going to get rid of women's physique? It seems like that might be something down the road, maybe, or like with the women's bodybuilding. And so now figure girls get bigger. Wellness sort of creates that sort of hole where there's bikini. I could see that happening maybe because it seems like after women's physique got rid of New York Pro, and then even the Arnold seems like they're not really like digging it anymore. Like they have them at a really early show. They didn't have them at the meet and greet with the fans. So it seems like maybe that's a trend that might be happening where they might be trying to fill another spot, you know what I mean, down the road, in my opinion. But I think it just becomes hard to judge. That's all.
You think it's harder to judge than a regular bikini show?
No, because now you have bikini, wellness, and figure. It sort of is a lot of meshing, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, for sure with the different classes. But I'm saying, like, if you were watching a bikini, like when I watch bikini, no offense to any bikini people watching, I have no idea who's in first and who's last. I just know who I want to smash first and I want to smash second. But I'm making a joke, but I'm being serious. As a guy, that's the only reason I can defer the difference.
Glute hamstring tie-in, sir. Glute hamstring tie-in.
Yeah. But at least with the wellness, you can be like, yo, those quads, those hams. Like I can understand muscle differential.
I don't think the judging is difficult per se. I think it's basically bikini but harder and a bigger lower bottom. Like it's not basically. All right, let's say this: the wellness division is basically what Amanda Latona was when bikini first came out.
Right, exactly.
The girls used to be harder and they used to be thicker. Now they've brought them down a lot. To me, figure the girls are not thicker per se; they just have more muscle.
So I mean, the sport has now expanded worldwide. We're no longer just the United States where you have one or two shows where you have the ability to come in and maybe get a pro card at the Arnold Amateur and become part of the IFBB. So with that being said, the people who run our sport had to think a lot bigger. There's a lot more people now who fit into more than just figure and Bikini that has 2 years ago, Bikini was starting to get more athletic, a little more muscular near the end there, and they reverted it back to really thin. Girls with really tiny legs, more shoulders, more arms, but half the world doesn't match up to that. All the Latin countries, a lot of the African American competitors who want to compete, they really don't have the genetic stature to fit into Bikini, and they don't all necessarily want to be figure where their back is as wide as can be and have huge shoulders. So I think wellness is a great division. You're almost a hybrid competitor, which tends to be a little more athletic as well. If we look at the two divisions right now, where we're saying it's an in between, you look at Bikini and you look at figure. Where do you find more athletes? Figure. Okay.
Figure, yeah.
How many athletes are there that don't want to be the size
Don't
of
want to have that huge back.
figure? They don't want
the huge back. Man, you nailed it, dude.
Athletes, but they're athletes. They can't be 110-pound girl.
Right.
There's
they can't do it if they wanted to.
Now that is going to be wellness. So I think not only is it great for the sport, I think within 3 to 4 years, it's going to be one of the most popular female divisions, if not the most popular, not by numbers, Bikini, but by the combination what the guys like to look at and respect, and what the girls end up liking, because you're gonna get girls from both sides. Some figure girls are gonna come down, and some Bikini girls are gonna come over, and then a lot of the athletes. If you played volleyball, soccer, ran track in college or in high school, this is a division you can fit into. I think it's a great thing for the sport. Kudos to them for bringing it on board.
I think it could be number one in numbers, man. The most girls fall in that space.
Could be.
And then look, how many girls were trying to go down to Bikini, like when they changed the standard, but just can't run their legs off.
Right.
So many girls are going to me, the average girl falls in that space. The average girl doesn't fall in the space of Bikini with the tiny legs or figure with a huge back. The average girl falls in the space of wellness. And if we're talking about worldwide, like let's not talk about just the US. Let's talk about worldwide in the IFBB. It will be number one in numbers.
Yeah. All the Latin countries. There's just going to be a lot of places. I think it's a great addition. I think there's nothing but going to be positivity. Just like every other division. When figure first came out, everyone thought figure was going to be terrible. Why are they doing this? When women's physique came, they said the same thing. When Bikini came, they said the same thing. When men's physique came out, they said the same thing. People are going to talk just to talk. Let it play out. See what's going to happen. We move forward.
It's going to be another great addition.
I'm dying out here on the back.
Bodybuilders. It's another great addition to Maximum Muscle Report. I think we did a great job, guys. Sergio, you didn't let us down. Out of control. Talking about smashing and all of that.
Love Serge, man. Love Serge. He added the perfect spice.
I've seen it. Dude, he's out of control.
No.
Perfect spice. I love it, though.
Who's talking? I remember being at the press conference, and some dude came out of the crowd and was going ham. What are we talking about? Me? Yo, you took the mic and was ready to fight.
I was just stating my case. That was it,
Yo, he thought we forgot about that one, Serge.
Yeah, not me.
Sergio, we appreciate you being the first guest. You were the only guy who would fit this. We're honored to have you on.
No, this is a great idea. This is great, and we need more of this. I remember when bodybuilding used to be on ESPN, so let's get it.
Yeah, brother, I hear that.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, man.
Back. George, take us out.
All right, for Sergio, the Great, Mandus, Nasty Nate, Andre Ferguson, and myself for Maximum Muscle Report. This is Bodybuilders by Bodybuilders. We'll see you guys next time.